Businesses are generating more information than ever, yet many founders still struggle to make decisions with confidence. Scaling requires clarity and the ability to see operations without unnecessary noise. Charles leads a platform designed to bring structure and visibility to the core functions of a business. His experience gives him a sharp view of the patterns that hold companies back and the systems that will push them forward. Today, we will examine how better processes improve execution and long-term stability. This is a conversation for any entrepreneur who wants their business to run with more intelligence and less guesswork. All right, let's get straight into it. So, Charles, why don't you tell us a bit more about Clearview and how long have you been involved in Clearview?
Yeah, so Clearview's idea initially came back in March 2025, so it's fairly new.
Okay.
We launched our MVP the end of September, so we've actually been live now for just over a month, but we're not pushing it out to the general public at the moment. We're just focusing on our founding partners that are beta testing the platform, and yeah, so it's a fairly new company, but we're gaining quite a lot of traction pretty early on, which is exciting for us.
Okay, and can I just ask, your company Clearview, right?
Yeah.
Is that your first kind of entrepreneurial business, or have you had businesses before that?
Yeah, so before I set up Clearview, I had a marketing agency.
Okay.
We mainly focused on helping local businesses grow with the local visibility through Google My Business, because that's a massively underutilized tool that a lot of high street brands don't actually deal with at the moment. And obviously since lockdown happened, people's search habits have changed. You know, the high street's not what it used to be, in my opinion anyway, and I think a lot of people can resonate with that. So we mainly focus on helping those local businesses grow and target the extra 20-30% of people that are searching for them, but they might not actually be appearing on those searches. And slowly we evolved, so I set that up 4 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So slowly we then evolved into a full 360 marketing agency where we'd cover your websites, your paid ads, social media, etc., email marketing. And then back at early in March this year, I joined Founders Club, and we held a roundtable with around 15 other agencies in London, and everybody was talking about the same problems, the same issues that we were facing. And previous to that anyway, I was getting a little bit frustrated and annoyed because when I'd speak with business owners, 90% of business owners hadn't got a clue on how the business was performing online.
Okay.
And when you think of a business, in my mind, I think there's two businesses. You've got your brick and mortar business that's face to face with the clients, and then you've got your online business, which is there to generate your leads. And they're both equally as important as one another. And when business owners come into it and they don't understand how they're performing, they don't understand what they can do to improve it, what you get is a lot of guesswork, and a lot of people are wasting a hell of a lot of money on marketing that they don't necessarily need to do. And even if that business owner is educated to look in the right places, so each of your different marketing channels has their own analytics, has their own performance dashboards, but it's scattered across multiple different platforms, and it only tells you how you're performing. So what we've done with Clearview is we've brought all of those dashboards, all those analytics into one place. We provide you with a health score of that individual marketing channel, and then we'll show you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and then what you need to do, to improve that specific channel. One of the cool things actually about Clearview is we're part of Google Cloud Startup Program.
Oh, wow.
So we're implementing Google's MCP server, which will allow business owners to communicate with the data. So from your perspective, you could say, listen, I've got an extra £1,000 this month to spend on marketing, and I really want to grow the number of leads that I'm getting. You know, what product or service should I be pushing? And it'll pull all that information from all the data that we've collected within our platform. So you're not going in blind, you're going in with relevant information, and it'll tell you the exact channel that you need to actually be utilizing. So pretty powerful tool.
Yeah, sounds it, man. Yeah. I mean, look, there's a lot to unpack there, actually. So, well, you started with 90% of business owners not really getting to grips with the data, right?
They don't even know they have the data there anyway, some of them.
There you go. So there's that. You also mentioned about the implementation of tools, right?
Yeah.
In terms of, we're talking about software tools and analytics tools, right? Really. So in your day-to-day business, right, when you're talking to business owners, you generally find that there's would you say it's a knowledge gap? What really holds people back from engaging more with these tools and engaging more with the data?
I think it's the lack of understanding.
Okay.
And when I say that, for me running my own business, there's a lot of moving parts.
Okay. Yeah.
And when you focus, and a lot of business owners focus on the service and the product that they're giving and that they're selling to the client base. And, if you've got, members of staff, you've got a business, you've got overheads, you've got all sorts of different things going on. To sit down and actually spend time understanding and learning how marketing works and how to actually do it, it's a job in itself. That's why there's marketing agencies out there, and that's why you get in-house marketing teams to do it. But also from a business owner's perspective, you also need to understand what you expect from that agency, what you expect from that specific marketing person in your team. You can't just rely on somebody else's word. And that's why, unfortunately, a lot of people that I have spoken to when I've reached out to them and they've not inquired, is they've said they've been burnt before by an agency.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's agencies coming in, they overpromise and underdeliver, but it's not the agency's fault. It's not because they're a bad agency. It's just because of how that specific business is set up. It might take a little bit longer. When you look at whatever budget they have, it might take longer for them to actually start achieving and generating more leads. And it also might be, not suitable for that specific business, whatever the business owner wants to do. So a big thing that I always used to get was we'd get companies ring us up and they'd say, can you run my Google ads for me or my Meta ads?
Okay.
And I'd say, I can do it, yeah, but before we even start looking at it, we're going to do a full digital audit across everything. So that in itself used to take me a week to put together, and then it'd be a PDF document of 40 pages that I'd present to the client, and then we'd present a strategy. So from an agency perspective, it was a hell of a lot of work. And it's not scalable doing it that way, which is obviously why we target agencies and business owners for Clearview. So having that ability to simplify the data, simplify a business's performance, but also give key insights, it's changing the way that people look at marketing, use marketing, and actually start appreciating it a little bit more.
Okay, so if there was one takeaway, like if you could speak to a business owner right now, obviously business owners are in a position, as you mentioned, they've got overheads, they've got maybe staff to manage, there's a product, there's, a customer service element to it as well. Then there's obviously the bookkeeping, the accounts. On top of all of that, you've then got the marketing as well, right? So a business owner is wearing a lot of hats, they're juggling a lot of roles. If there was one piece of advice you'd have to give someone in that position to help them embrace the more digital elements of marketing, what would you have to say to that person?
It's a really good question. And there's a few different answers that I could give.
Okay.
But I think one of the most important ones is, especially if you're a business that doesn't have a lot of online traction or a lot of online visibility, don't focus on the number of leads that are generated.
Okay.
Focus on the health of the business. And by that, what I mean is, when you run ads, you generate leads, but it's not to say that all those leads are going to buy from you, and you pay per click. So the more you put money in, the more leads you're going to get, but also the more you're going to waste as well. A lot of businesses that do extremely well, businesses that look at organic growth.
Okay.
Because you can build it up over time, whether it's 6, 12 months onwards. But it takes time for you, to get to page 1 on Google if you're not on page 1 of Google.
Right.
It then takes even more time for you to go from, the bottom of page 1 up to the top 3. And 75% of people, majority, I think I said that right.
Yeah.
But 75% of people only look at the top 3 websites, for example, on Google, or the top 3
That makes sense. I mean,
businesses.
They always say, what is it? Page 2 of Google is where businesses go to die, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how many businesses used to come to us and they'd be on page 6, 7, 8. And they want leads right now. And when you're running like a 12-month campaign, they see they're spending thousands a month for this specific campaign, but they're not generating any revenue. So the way that they think is a little bit different. And, it's like anything. If you want something to be sustainable, if you want a business to last for generations, you have to build up its organic growth. And, the days of word of mouth and businesses growing through that way, they're pretty much dying out anyway now.
Okay. I mean, just off the back of that, right? So Is there a specific type of business? Let's say you've got someone out there, maybe they run like a tire shop, or maybe it's a business where they don't traditionally think, well, I can't benefit from a social media campaign, or I can't benefit from, a Google Ads campaign. If you run a tire shop, for example, someone might be thinking that. Is there a type of business that you said, would you say that is not applicable to this? Is there a business that doesn't benefit from going more online?
No, I think every business would benefit on going online, but it depends what your outcome is.
Okay.
So there's two ways that I look at marketing. You either look to grow your visibility and to improve your brand, or you go to generate leads. Now, you can do the both at the same time, but for example, a tyre shop in Peckham isn't going to be selling tyres to people in North London or Finchley where we are, right? So when you look at a tyre shop, what you might want to consider is running local ads,
Okay.
but growing your local visibility. That way, the people that are new to the area, visiting the area, they might be driving through and they might get a puncture and they need to go to a tyre shop to make sure that you're at the top of that list.
Right.
That's really how I would approach that type of situation. But I'd also, potentially, my conversation with the business owner with that would be, well, where do you see the business in 5 years?
Okay.
Do you want to just have this one tyre shop that does really well, or do you want to open up multiple different tyre shops in and around the area? And if you want to do that and actually grow a huge business, Quick Fit, they've got stores all over the place.
Yeah,
Look how they've evolved. You have to have a long-term approach on it, and you have to say, well, do you know what? If we put aside X amount of money each month to grow our local visibility, to grow our organic growth, within 12 months' time, we'll be in a position where we could potentially open up a second store.
Interesting.
So it's different for each business, but I think every business, to answer your question, every business does benefit from some type of online marketing.
Interesting, because that's very similar to a question that I get asked a lot as well when it comes to finance, right? Can a business grow, or can they continue a long-term business plan without taking on any finance? And the answer is a lot of the time yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes, you probably could, but it would be a lot harder. So it seems like there's a lot of similarities there with, increasing your digital footprint and increasing your marketing efforts, right?
Yeah.
Like the answer is again yes and no, right? Like you probably could, but that campaign, that strategy digitally would be instrumental in that growth.
Yeah, but you've also got to think of it this way as well. Like there's been countless amount of business owners I've spoken to, and they've said, I've got more than enough work.
Really?
It's just me. I'm happy. I've got the next 6 months booked out with work.
Oh, wow.
We used to target a lot of plumbers, electricians, landscapers, etc. And they'd be like, we're too busy. And then my question would be, well, are you looking to hire or grow the business? It was like, no, not really.
Interesting.
So for companies like that, they don't need to generate leads because they've got enough business. But I always say this, there's always going to be a time in a business's lifetime where they're going to have down days. Look at what COVID did to us all.
Of course, yeah.
And if you are in a position where you can still generate leads and still generate business through those down times, you're on a winning business.
Okay.
It's okay to turn away work. It's okay to say you're too busy.
Right.
But what's not okay is for you to be sitting around watching the clock and waiting for a customer to walk through the door.
Of course.
Because you're just losing money.
Of course, no, absolutely. I mean, all right, so just taking a bit of a step back from what it is you do with Clearview now, right? And I just want to ask you a bit more about your own entrepreneurial experience.
Yeah.
So you said you started off with a marketing agency. For 4 years you ran that, and then recently you've pivoted to more of a digital platform approach, right? Before that, what did you do?
So, my first ever, so I've worked in sales.
Okay.
Long story short.
So you've got a very strong sales background.
Yeah. So my first ever sales job, I was actually selling kitchens for a family friend's business up in Manchester.
Interesting. Okay.
But at the same time, I was working in hospitality.
Okay.
So I had an idea back then when I was younger that, I wanted to have a career in hospitality.
Okay.
I wanted to run my own bar, my own restaurant. And I worked for an event company. We travelled the world. We did private events, big parties.
Nice.
It was really good. But the lifestyle, the late nights, it just caught up to me at one point.
Right.
And then I left hospitality and I started doing door-to-door sales.
Okay.
So we'd sign people up for charities. I
Oh,
did
wow.
really well there. I think I set a company record for the UK. I did 17 sales in a day.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, the first sale I did was on my first day. So I went
Okay.
out there and the guy who was teaching me, he said, Johnny was called, great guy,
Right.
love him. But he said to me, just go and speak to these doors. And the first door I knocked on, I signed him up, and I didn't have an iPad or anything.
So like a natural.
Yeah. So it was brilliant. And then met my missus there. We moved down to London together pretty quickly, and I started working for startups.
Okay.
So I'd come in, we build the sales element, put processes in place, help build a team.
So you went from working in a company doing sales to then now consulting independently?
Well, no, it wasn't consulting. So I'd be employed as like an SDR or a BDR.
Okay.
And then I worked my way up for an account executive. But the issue I had when I moved down to London, so when I was doing the door-to-door, I was pretty much running in my own office. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. It was commission only. There was no salary or anything like that.
Right.
And then when I moved down to London and I was applying for all these jobs, I've got a lot of experience in training people how to do sales, doing sales, closing deals, etc. I kind of had to start from scratch. Mm-hmm. So I started off as an SDR where you pretty much just book calls in.
Okay.
And then you move up to a BDR where you'd actually go out there and you'd pitch and you'd do demos. And then I moved up to an account executive where I'd actually be closing the deals.
Right. And these were all employed roles, right?
Yeah.
We're still within the kind of sales remit. At what point did you think, okay, I need to kind of go off on my own? And how did you then transition from that into the marketing agency side of things?
So I didn't actually. I didn't think I'd go off on my own. So I worked for an amazing company based out of San Francisco. And our job was to penetrate the UK and EMEA market.
Okay.
And it took us quite a while. We got our first deal in within the first year, which was brilliant. It was like 30K. But shortly after that, so the product was to help businesses comply with regulations when collecting customer data.
Okay.
In the US, it works a treat because each state's got different regulations for each state. However, in the UK and Europe, it's all GDPR. Mm-hmm. So the demand wasn't as high, but there was a demand in the EMEA market. And I still think that, that there still is companies out there that can do a hell of a lot better with the collecting data side of things. But essentially we were made redundant.
Okay.
So it was January we were made redundant, pretty much the whole sales team, which, it's typical standard startup. Okay. And, I got a lot of experience there. Mm-hmm. I worked very closely with, a big sales director from Salesforce that was our VP.
Oh, wow.
He gave me a hell of a lot of learning and information that I took away from. So it was an amazing experience. But I was literally there in January and I'm applying for all these jobs, and it would have meant if I'd have took a job, I'd have taken a 30 grand pay cut.
Okay.
And I just couldn't do it.
Right.
I valued myself a little bit too much.
Okay.
So I typed into ChatGPT and I said, listen, like, this is the situation. ChatGPT.
Really?
Yeah.
And that just gave you the answer?
I said, this is the situation. This is what I'm good at.
Right.
I need help and guidance on what I can actually do. And yeah, it came back to me. You could set up a marketing agency because I'm good at email marketing and stuff like that. So I started taught myself how to do tours, and I taught myself how Google worked and everything like that.
So wait, just to kind of pick up on that. So your decision to move from an employed role to becoming an entrepreneur, the catalyst for it, essentially you got the answer from ChatGPT.
Yes and no. Okay.
Right.
So just to clarify, right? So I've never been happy working for a company.
Okay.
So there was.
Why is that, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. So there was always something where, for me, I never felt fulfilled. Mm-hmm. I was earning good money. I was being flown around the world. It was fantastic. Okay. It was a brilliant life. We had a fantastic lifestyle, but I just never was happy with the day-to-day stuff of, everything that we were doing. It was like the same thing over and over again. I never understood why that was. And then when I decided to say, do you know what, I'm going to just give it my all and set up my own company and see how I get, that's when my mentality changed. I stopped hating my job and I started enjoying life a little bit more. So
Interesting.
it was kind of like always in the background, but being made redundant and being in that situation just gave me that extra little push that I needed.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, because I'm sure, some people listening might be in that same situation,
Yeah.
right? Where you're kind of fed up at your job, you don't really think you can progress further, and it just kind of builds up over time, right? I
Yeah.
think it's a feeling that as entrepreneurs we can all relate to, especially those that have transitioned from working for someone else. You just get to a point where you think, oh, I can't do this anymore. And yeah, I think you just took that step, right?
Yeah. I also think as well, it comes down to mentality. So I'm very solution driven.
Okay.
My missus hates it. So she'll start telling me her problems, and straight away I've got 3 solutions for her. And all
Right,
she
you
wants to
always
do
got
is
the
rant.
answer.
She's just like, I just want to rant to you. I don't want a solution. But so whenever I see problems, I always think of the solutions. But being part of a company and working for somebody else, you can't necessarily have the freedom to go away and start exploring those solutions
True.
as much as you'd like to. So I've always had the entrepreneurial mindset. I've always worked more than one job. I've always, I think up until last year, I actually stopped working in hospitality.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
So you still doing it?
still doing it, love it. Yeah, it was like the
nice.
best thing ever. So yeah, so I think people that are entrepreneurs, they naturally know they're entrepreneurs,
Okay.
and or even if they don't know, there's something in the back of the mind that's saying, "I'm not right." Because for me, everybody that was around me always had, and I don't knock this whatsoever. Like my parents, they've always wanted what's best for me, and what's best for me is what they think is what's best for me. So get a job, 9 to 5, work my way up, get a missus, have a family, get a house. The standard progression that you would go to. But I've never wanted to do that, and it's not that I don't dislike that lifestyle. It's just it's not a lifestyle that I want. And everybody that's around you that's kind of living that way, you kind of feel like a bit of an outsider. You feel like you're the one with the problem.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
And then when you actually, it's like I big up Founders Club massively, because when I joined in March, I was going into a really bad kind of depression type situation because I didn't have any outside support where I could speak to people about my problems. And literally when I joined Founders Club, I think within the second event I went to, like my mentality just switched completely. I had the idea for Clearview and everything kind of went in order. So for me, it's who you surround yourself with really that helps you achieve.
So you just kind of pick it up on that, and that's really good. And no, I really appreciate what you said there about the Founders Club as well, because I've also met tons of entrepreneurs. In fact, that's where we met, right? So it's really good to kind of go out there, see where other entrepreneurs are, and kind of link with these other entrepreneurs, and you can share stories as well. But on that bit there, you said at one point you struggled because you didn't really have anyone around you, right? How important is it to have the right people around you? And let's say there was someone else out there in a situation where maybe they're struggling with not having the right support, especially as an entrepreneur. Sometimes there's a bit of a barrier between you and other people. You mentioned it there, right? Some people can't really relate to what it's like having all the pressure of running a business. What would you have in the form of advice to give to someone that's also in that type of situation?
I mean, that's a good question. I can only really speak from my experience. So
yeah, what did you do to overcome those difficulties yourself?
I took my last 1,500 quid and I joined Founders Club.
Right.
And I said to the missus at the time, I said, it's either going to be the best decision I made or we'll just write it off as a loss.
Yeah.
And I think that, when some people, they look for guidance, they look for help, but they don't necessarily want to hear it.
Okay.
And you've got to put yourself in a position where if you find somebody that's doing something that you might even be slightly interested in and they give you some advice,
right,
you've got to take it on board.
Yeah.
Because it's the little things that make a difference. For me anyway, when I would be in a very stressful situation, I'd overeat, I wouldn't exercise, I'd drink.
Right.
And that all kind of catalysts itself into negative environment, negative emotions, and negativity.
Okay.
Whereas for me now, like I'm up every day. I go for a 2-hour walk with the dogs.
I mean, I was just going to ask you about that actually, because previously on the podcast as well, we had an interview with a PT where we spoke about the correlations between success in business and kind of success in health,
Yeah.
whether it's the gym or sports or anything. So, I mean, I know you're, into a bit of fitness and taking care of yourself. So how has that impacted you in your business?
Massively. I mean, someone, I can't remember who said it, but I was watching another podcast, I think it was. And I mean, listen, I'm not in the shape of my life right now. I'm still got to go. So I've lost 2 stone in the past month and a half or something. So I'm on my way.
Definitely, you're definitely the way, yeah.
In the right way anyway. But somebody said, like, if 2 people showed up at your door to try and sell you something, one was overweight, right? His clothes didn't fit him, looked a mess, and the other one was fit, sharp, looked good, had a Prestige shirt and everything. Which one are you more likely to buy from? And it's not necessarily because of how the person looks, it's how the person perceives themselves.
Yeah.
Because I know when I go to the gym and I train or I go for a 2-hour-long walk, I feel brilliant afterwards. So any conversation I have after that is positive.
Right.
And in being an entrepreneur anyway, we deal with rejection every day. You know, me coming from a sales background, I'd have 99 people say no to me every day, but one person might say yes.
Right.
So it's how you approach those conversations. If you're confident in yourself and you feel good and you look good, then you're more than likely to succeed, and it changes your mentality.
Right, and you're saying a lot of that can be derived from the self-improvement that you do in
100%.
fitness and taking
Eating
care of
well,
yourself, eating well, of
training.
course.
Like, you don't need to have a 6-pack.
Yeah.
Go for a walk.
Yeah, it's
Eat
true.
clean food. Don't eat sweets. Like, I mean, listen, I binge. So, they talk about practice what you preach.
Yeah.
I practice it, but then I'll have days where I won't train or I won't eat right.
Yeah.
And afterwards I just feel awful, and it takes me so much more energy to get back into it. But once I've done it,
feel better.
it changes completely. You feel better, yeah.
Absolutely, man. I can relate. So just kind of following on from this as well, right? We've spent a lot of time together. We've been to a couple of exhibitions. We're actually in the Excel, you remember, a couple of weeks ago.
Business show.
Yeah, that's it, the business show. And something interesting happened, right? Like, it was towards the end of the show, all day I'd spent talking to people. I'm one of those people that it kind of mentally exhausts me, when like your social battery kind of runs out. But this guy came over and he wanted to have a chat and just, talk about his business. And you got into a great conversation with the guy, and we ended up kind of striking up like almost like a friendship with the guy, right? We spent time with him the next day, and I've made some connections with him as well. And I said to you at that point as well, I was like, look, Charles, like, you're really good when it comes to your interpersonal skills. So has that always been the case? How has that impacted your business?
Yeah, so it kind of has some. Both my parents are fairly outgoing.
Okay.
So they always used to be the life and soul of the party. And being a 90s kid, I kind of grew up in a pub.
Right.
So I was always in a social environment, and, football, boxing, I've done everything. And one thing that I used to do quite a lot early days was I used to care about what people thought about me.
Okay.
So the way that I would be with a new person would be completely different to how I was with my friends. And when I got into the corporate life in London, I'm from Manchester, Greater Manchester. So, when I looked at London, I was like, this big city, it's like this huge place and whatnot. People aren't as friendly, or you've got to be professional, or whatever it is, which isn't true, by the way. Londoners are really friendly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When you talk to them, they're cracking.
Yeah. Once you get through that outer shell, right?
Yeah. But everybody's busy though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Everybody's going somewhere. Like, it's a busy city. It's not like up north where people are taking the time and relaxing a little bit more. But when I started working within the corporate industries and the startup, I was doing the same thing. I was worried about how I was perceived to the person, which then didn't show my true personality. So it just happened in my mind. I just thought, you know what? I don't care what people think about me. If I treat somebody with respect and I have a laugh, and I make them laugh, make them smile, then fine. If they don't like me, fair enough. If they do like me, brilliant. Let's do some business together. And that's pretty much how I carry myself all the time anyway when I'm out and about. But with work and how it's affected, especially going online and, messaging, I hate texting. I hate emails. I hate LinkedIn messages. I hate it all. Because I'm a voicemail or a video kind of guy.
Okay.
Because
like an in-person meeting type of
yeah,
thing, right?
yeah. Like, that's why I thrive at the events. But it does affect me because, sometimes even in the back of my mind when I'm writing messages to people or I'm reaching out to people to try and generate interest for Clearview, sometimes I think to myself, you know, I might need to be a little bit more professional and whatnot. But so it does affect me in that kind of way. But that's why majority of my business I get face to face.
Right, yeah.
And that's the best way I like to do it.
Would you have any advice for anyone out there that maybe struggles with their interpersonal skills, or, you know, how important is the interpersonal skills? How can someone improve their interpersonal skills?
Well, I think we're all different.
Right.
You know, you met my missus. She's a huge introvert.
Right.
Well, she's opposite to me. Being out socially drains her. Being out socially for me gives me energy.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, so like, I'll go home today and I'll be buzzing all day.
Nice.
Right. So for me, I think it depends on what type of person you are, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. But at the end of the day, this is life. You have to interact with people. You have to, you know, whether you're in a sales role or you're in a software engineering role, you have to communicate with other people within the team or outside of the team, or just go into the shops on a normal basis. And I think one of the biggest things that I would say is just be yourself. Don't worry about what other people think, because at the end of the day, you know, there's 65 million people in the UK.
Yeah.
There's going to be a group in there that you fit in somewhere. And you just got to wade through all of the people that don't fit your criteria, and you'll find them. But if you don't put yourself out there and you don't be yourself and you try to pretend that you're something else that you're actually not, people can see through it straight away. You know,
That's really interesting. That's a really interesting point, actually.
yeah,
Yeah, just be yourself and just kind of put yourself out there. Don't try to, you know,
yeah.
be fake or be different to...
I don't think it's about being fake. You know, I used to hate it, or not hate it, but I used to want people to like me.
Okay.
And chasing that, I realised I was changing the way I was behaving to try and perceive myself as somebody who I think that person wants me to be.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I see what you mean. Yeah, it's
Little
not
bit of the
fake, but you're
word-
just kind of
Yeah.
changing who you are. Yeah, it's not the real you type of thing, right?
Yeah, and I've got to a stage now where I don't mind. I don't mind. And you know, I don't go out of my way to hurt people, but if you don't like me, if you don't like my energy, then that's fine. Like, I'm not, it doesn't bother me. So it means that the people that I do meet, like you know, the person you're talking about at the business show, he was like on our wavelength straight away. Like, came over, professional, hi, how are you? And then as soon as he, you know, dropped a couple of jokes and we started talking, we got on like a house on fire. So that's kind of, you know, there's pros and cons to it.
So would you say, look, that kind of ties into what I've heard a lot out there, right? I've heard a lot of business owners say to me that people buy from people. How important or how true would you say that is?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So would you say it's better to focus on your interpersonal skills and sell yourself? If people like you, right, they'll take on your services or whatever it is your business is doing, right? Rather than just, you know, trying to push a fake narrative or something else. Yeah.
Well, I think, yeah, people buy from people, so you've got to be yourself, no matter who you are. But I also think as well, for me, I operate now on transparency.
Right.
So I say what I think. If it offends someone, I'm sorry it offends you.
Right.
But that's my opinion. That's what I think. And, you know, having that transparency with people know where they stand. So then they respect you more. Whereas if somebody doesn't know where they stand with somebody, there's no kind of respect there. And, you know, I think those are the two key things really that I focus on, is just being myself and treating people with other respect, transparency.
All right. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So, I mean, look, we've spoken about Clearview, the importance of data in businesses. What's next for Charles and Clearview? What have you got planned next? And where do you want to kind of take this into the future?
Yeah, big goals.
Really?
I was at a workshop yesterday.
Okay.
With Charlie Reddin. You might have met him through Founders.
I think so, yeah.
He's a great coach, and we were talking about setting goals.
Okay.
Like a 5-year goal, and then you break it down in 3 years and yearly, monthly, etc. And for me, like, even to be in the position where we've just launched Clearview, it's like a huge step. I'd have never thought I'd be doing this at the start of the year. And our next sort of 5-year plan for Clearview is to build it to be the #1 sales and marketing platform in the world.
Oh, wow.
One of our competitors, SEMrush, just got bought by Adobe for 1.9 billion. and they focus on the website and the AI generated searches type thing. That's their speciality. They do other things, but that's mainly their speciality. But we encompass everything. I've got some good product launches that are going to be coming once we've built our initial platform to automate a lot of the manual processes within marketing. Also, we're doing a sales product as well.
Oh, nice.
Which is completely different to whatever's on the market at the moment. It's more human touch. It's real time. That'll be an absolute game changer.
Just on that as well, right? So you're talking about these future tools that you're going to be developing. Obviously, you've got your current suite of tools as well with Clearview. What would you have to say to business owners out there that maybe listen to this thinking, "Oh my God, you know what? Another tool. How do I pick this over that? What is there? You know, what would you have to say to someone in the position to make that decision? How can they get some clarity there, or how can they get a clearer view?"
Yeah, Clearview. Yeah. Do you know what? I came up with the name and then I was pitching Clearview to an investor.
Right.
And I said, "Do you have a clear view of your business?" And then I went, "Oh wait, that's the name. That goes."
That's it.
So I didn't even think that it came in, but
it works really well. Yeah.
yeah. But it's no, it's a good question. I mean, at the moment there are tools out there, but they don't do what Clearview's planning on doing. Now, we're not a tool right now. Like, we're not even pushing to go to the general public at the minute. So we're mainly focusing on bringing our founding partners involved. So we're looking for 10 SMEs. A few spots have actually filled up already for that.
Okay.
You're one of them. We're also looking for 5 agencies. So we've got, a couple of agencies already.
Oh, so you
signed
work
up.
with agencies as well, not
Yeah.
just like direct to the market. As in, when we say the market, you're talking about your main consumers would be the small to medium business owner, right?
Yeah, or enterprise.
Or enterprise, yeah.
But we're not even considering to push that yet anyway, because the platform's not there.
Right.
So what we have available at the moment is we have the dashboards for your website SEO, AEO, GEO, which is AI searches, and your Google My Business. So because we're part of Google Cloud, we're able to integrate them first. And then phase 2, we're going to be integrating all the social media accounts and the email marketing. But where we're kind of at the moment and how we want to build it, which is slightly different to others. And the reason why we want to do it this way is because I've trialed a lot of the new startup companies this year, and a lot of them say they do X, but they actually don't because they're still building it.
Right.
So you're paying for something that's not a full product. So before we move to any phase, once we've filled out our founding users, the 15 businesses, they provide feedback on the platform. And then when we move to phase 2, we implement that feedback.
Okay.
And we're going to be getting 5 different agencies, 10 different SMEs from 10 different industries. So we're getting a full picture. And that's how we're going to build the platform. So essentially, it's a platform built by the users for the users.
So businesses these days generate a huge amount of data, whether it's through their sales channels, their online platforms, their website. How can business owners prioritize which of these to focus on, and what would you say is the most important to focus on?
Yeah, good question. So I think it depends on where the business is. I think if you're a well-established business, you should be focusing on the quality of leads that you're getting in. I think if you're a new startup business and you don't have much visibility, you should be focusing on the traffic that's being generated and the views, the comments, the followers, the website clicks, etc. Because, when you're already established, all you want to do there is generate leads. But starting off, if you just go into it where I need leads, nobody knows who you are. So I think that, having an idea of where you actually stand right now will give you a good idea on where you need to go and what you need to focus on.
Prior to engaging someone like yourself and using Clearview, what would you say that business owners need to have in terms of groundwork, stuff that they've already set up in their business to then help you make the most out of it?
The key thing is having multiple marketing channels. So whether it's a website or a couple of social medias, as soon as you've got that set up, then reach out to us. With our founding partners, in terms of the agencies, they're going to be fulfilling a lot of implementation work.
Okay.
So you don't necessarily need an in-house marketing team because we'll be able to implement that for you. And that's one of the pros of being a founding agency. But whenever you set up an account, there's no real data to look at anyway. So having clear view from the initial standpoint where you can benchmark against competitors. That's another thing we offer.
Okay.
So you can benchmark against competitors, but also as well yourself. When you build up a big cachet of posts and visibility, etc. But when you can do that, that's when you can really start to make some really good changes.
Right. Also, my other question to that would be, how important is consistency? You know, sometimes it's maybe not on the top of your list to do, right? When you're running a
Yeah.
business, to post on Instagram or update your website. So how important is it to stay consistent with those?
Very. It's like, if you go for a run today and then don't run for the rest of the month, you're going to lose weight.
It's true.
So you got to be. It's like anything. You got to be consistent with it. When we set up the marketing agency, I didn't have any budget for ads or anything like that. So we grew organically, and it took us 6 months to close our first client.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and that was me posting pretty much every day, every other day, if that. We were doing a little bit of a mix. I wasn't really doing videos or anything like that because I'm a bit camera shy. You wouldn't think so, but
Nah, I could tell. I could
yeah.
tell.
But yeah, consistency is number one thing.
Maybe you've got someone there, business owner in front of you, right? And they're a bit apprehensive. They're a bit nervous of making an investment into their business and taking on more systems or investing in Instagram or posts or whatever it might be, right? Because they're not quite sure. Maybe the budget isn't quite there, or, you know, you're in that position where you've just started a business. You don't want to be loose with the money and end up going bankrupt or broke, right? What would you have to say to someone in that position?
So for me, I had to be 100% convinced that the product that I was going to build had an audience. And, I went to Founders, I got the idea in Founders, and then I spent a lot of money, pretty much everything that I had in savings, on a whole market analysis research report. And then I went to investors. None of them would touch me because I'd not had a product. There was no MRR. There was like no traction or anything like that. So then I leveraged everything I had, 30 grand worth of debt to get to where we are today. And to see the platform on its first day and to see where it is now brings me to tears in a little bit because you risk so much and you don't know whether it's going to take off. You know there's a market out there, but you've got to go out and actually break into that market. And you're telling somebody that's been following the status quo for so long that this is the way it is. And you're so different, like a little bit of a disruptor, that it could go one or two ways. People will either buy into it or they won't buy into it. So to risk a lot and to put yourself in a situation where, if this goes under next week, I've got nothing, or I'm starting from scratch, that level of fear, that level of excitement fuels you to go that next level and to keep pushing. So, and it's one of the reasons why we do the founding partner thing. Like I said to myself, I only have to sell Clearview once to one person. Because once I sell it to one person and they believe in me, they believe in the idea, I can sell it to 10, 20, 30,
Scale
40,
it from
50
there.
people other. Yeah. So you've only got to sell it to one one person. And when we speak with business owners or if a business owner comes to me and be like, about investing money into Clearview, how we've structured our pricing, regardless of whether you want to be a founding user or not, let's take the founding partners off the table. And let's say by March next year, when phase 2 is completed, you want to start using Clearview, or you're speaking to me about potentially why should I do it. We have a free version. It'll give you your AI searches. It'll give you your website searches as well. Your average tool will cost you about $130 to do that. We're giving it for free. And then second tier, which encompasses pretty much everything, just not the AI and the MCP server, that's 150 quid a month. But then our top tier, our elite for SMEs, is 450 a month.
Okay.
Which still is pretty cheap when you consider what else is out there on the market. When you consider that when I used to do a full audit for people, I was spending around $2,500 a month on different tools to do that.
Oh, wow.
So what we're doing, it's well within the price point. But I always say this, and one thing that I've always done with the agency and I'm doing with Clearview, we're not signing people into like 12-month contracts. It's all on a rolling based contract, so you can cancel at any time. Because with business, business goes up and down, right? And I've had it before where I got tied into something where I had to pay for it. I think I was like 2 or 3 days past the cancel period, the cut-off date, and then they tied me in for the full year, and I wasn't even using the platform.
Oh, wow.
And it was something like £200 a month or something.
Wow.
Which for me at the time was a hell of a lot of money. Like sometimes I starved to pay that £200 because then they start saying they'll send out bailiffs and the debt collection, the fair mongering. We don't want to do anything like that.
Wow. So you've actually taken that into consideration, your experience as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And how tough it can be, right? When making that financial decision, you've gone ahead and then you're offering a free version.
Yeah, but also as well, like the way that I see it is, people are going to stay with us because the platform works.
Nice. Okay.
And it generates some revenue and it does what they want to do. And like yourselves, for example, you're a founding partner. You very rarely use the platform. I called Nelash and I'm like, why are you not using the platform?
Right.
And he's like, oh, well, we've not managed to set it up yet.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, well, really, if we're going to be honest, there's no point in you using it right now because it doesn't encompass everything. When it encompasses everything, it's going to be a great platform for you. But you've believed in it and you've committed to it for life, for a lifetime access, right? Not saying you got to use it for life, but when you get tied into something that's not performing, there's no worse feeling. So for us, we're building a platform that's going to perform. It's going to do exactly what it says on the tin. It'll reduce your costs. It'll drive more revenue, drive more leads, drive more qualified leads. And overall, like I said, it's going to be the number one sales and marketing platform in the world.
No doubt about that.
It's got to go.
All right, guys. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you for your time. That was Charles from Clearview. It was really good to learn more about his entrepreneurial journey, the challenges he's faced. I really found it interesting how he took that decision and how ChatGPT kind of gave him the answer to that, but it is what it is. So if you want to hear more content from us, make sure you follow, like, subscribe, check our Instagram. That's ATZ Finance on Instagram.